What's up, guys? We're actually heading into NFL Week 10. I cannot believe NFL Week 10 is here. Happy Saturday. I want to do a special episode here today. Maybe I'll continue to do them moving forward. I want to talk about the top 10 players fantasy-wise at each position going into this week. So we're going to break it down. We're going to talk about them. And we're also going to see, are they going to project forward and continue on this trend? Who's going to fall off? Who's going to rise? We're talking top 10 at each position. Who are the best players at each position going into, believe it or not, we're already there, NFL Week 10. So we're going to discuss it, talk about it, converse. Drop a comment below also as I'm going through the list here. And let me know, do you think some of these guys deserve to be in the top 10? Do you think they'll fall off? Is it a fluke that they're in the top 10? Did you anticipate they're going to be in the top 10? Love to get your feedback here, guys, as we discuss the best players in fantasy football 10 weeks in. Again, we're going to talk about those surprises as well. Very important to address guys that, Geno Smith, for example, at quarterback, big surprise. So we're going to talk about that and discuss it. So I'm excited to dive in. Again, make this interactive. If you're new to the channel, make sure you guys do subscribe, thumbs up, and head on over to prizepicks.com. Use code DFSLion. DFSLion they'll match your first deposit up to $100, and it's super fun to play. So an example here, I've got Derrick Henry this week, guys, at 105. We got more or less rushing yards. So will Derrick Henry go more or less than 105 rushing yards? He's been playing really well. Another one here for you guys, if you want to take a look at it again, is Dameon Pierce, 77.5. Will he be more or less than that in regards to rushing yards? That's how easy it is to play. You select 2 to 5 players, select more or less, and away you go. Try it out, guys. Enhance that game watching experience. DFS Lion is the code you want to use at prizepicks.com. Go create an account and try it out, guys, this weekend. All right. So let's start off here with the quarterback position. I want to talk about the best players at each position. So we're going to start off here and just talk about the quarterbacks here, kind of what's happened, what's transpired after 10 weeks, and some of the guys that have not made the top 10, which I thought would have. Example, Justin Herbert, currently sitting 14th amongst quarterbacks with only 133 points. Yeah, Herbert's been a bit of a letdown. Again, been safe and solid, but not to the where expectations that I thought he would be at. Big time disappointment. But when we're talking about the top 10 quarterbacks, Josh Allen leads the pack with 215 fantasy points after 9 weeks going into week 10. Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota, and Trevor Lawrence. Now, understand guys like Justin Fields sitting number 7 in fantasy points right now. I ask myself, how? Why? What the heck? This was a guy that I was excited about the ceiling about him. I said he'd be a good backup with upside. He's proven everybody that he can really do it, especially from a fantasy perspective. Coming off 3 hot weeks, 23 points, 26 points, and 43 points the past 3 consecutive weeks, getting it done on the ground. In regards to rushing attempts, 15 rushing attempts last game, 178 yards, and a touchdown. So he's had a touchdown in the past 3 games rushing, which is pretty remarkable here. So there's no question that would justify the high amount of fantasy points he's contributed to, and he's sitting 7 right now as he's starting to heat up. Geno Smith at 8, Marcus Mariota, believe it or not, at 9, benefiting himself, not so much as receivers, and Trevor Lawrence at 10. So again, the big surprises here going in 10 weeks in is Marcus Mariota sitting at 9, Geno Smith, Justin Fields cracking the top 10. And this is what I'm telling you guys, how people project, the Concheapsis project these players out to be is not how they're going to end up. I'll give you a quick example here, right? Pat Mahomes, the year he broke out, had his big year. I had him as a backup, right? So what you got to do, and I preach in 60 rounds, anchor your team with an ace quarterback and get that backup with massive upside. The guys that were massive upside backups this week were, for example, Justin Fields was a good backup. Trevor Lawrence was a good backup this year, and both these guys sitting in the top 10. Geno Smith was one of those guys you may have grabbed if you're in a 2-quarterback league as your 3rd quarterback. And, even with a guy like Justin Fields was a good, backup that you may have gotten in a 2-quarterback league, maybe as a backup in a 1-quarterback league, but very unlikely a lot of people drafted him. So very impressive for these guys to be where they're at. Like I said, Allen, Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, remarkable year MVP candidate. Kyler Murray, who's questionable this week. Same with Josh Allen. He's questionable in regards to potential injury here. So that'll sideline him for the week. Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Marcus Mariota, and Trevor Lawrence, your top 10 going into week 10. Moving on to the running back position, let's discuss. It's a very important running back position. Robust or bust is what I always say. Now, the guys that kind of surprised me this year, let's go over who the top 10 are. Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Leonard Fournette, and Aaron Jones. So looking at this right now at this list, the big shock to me is Austin Eckler at 1. Now, reason being is, again, why do you hate Austin Eckler so much? Not that I hate him personally. Well, maybe there's something personal there because he blocked me for absolutely no reason other than when I speak facts. At the end of the day, man, it's like he's doing well. Last year had a pinnacle year. He had, 12 touchdowns or so on the ground. This year he's got 6 so far, 4 receiving. He's doing really well in all categories, 198 fantasy points. He is a product of that offense, which, again, no excuse. It's a good offense, decent offense. Keenan Allen's been out. Justin Herbert's been relying on him in the short passes, getting all that goal line work. He's doing well, right? He's like a bowling ball. He rarely gets hurt. He's good. He's doing good. But, again, the surprise to me is that he was a backup for years, did nothing, could have passed Melvin Gordon, never really did, finally got going, had a pinnacle year last year. He put up more numbers than he did last year than he did pretty much his entire career, and he's continuing it. So, very impressive. Eckler, and again, everyone's telling you Jonathan Taylor, and I told you Derrick Henry had a Taylor. He's sitting number 3. I told you Barkley, could surpass Taylor, and Taylor's completely dropped off. And this is what I'm telling you guys. Things change. You got to, apply kind of where the puck's going to be instead of where the puck currently is. And again, the main thing when I look at the top 10 is Saquon Barkley. Nobody had him in the top 10 except for myself. That's a pretty good shock to the Consheeps. Stevenson's a bit of a shock, too, as well, because Patriots running backs, you don't expect much, but with Harris being sidelined, Stevenson has had a chance to emerge. Aaron Jones, I think, is a fake top 10 here. He's in the top 10, but I looked at his stats. He had 4 or 5 games where he absolutely dudded. He had a couple big games that are carrying him and making him sit in the top 10 here. So Aaron Jones definitely going to probably fall out of the top 10. And then you see people outside the top 10, guys like Travis Etienne at 11. We're talking PPR guys always. Dameon Pierce, Kenneth Walker at 17, Dameon Pierce at 14. Guys that will, at the pace they're going, crack the top 10, and some of these guys are going to fall off. But going into NFL Week 10, you got to take a look and give credit to these guys that are currently in the top 10. I think Fournette, Aaron Jones fall out. Stevenson could fall out with the return of Harris. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But guys, again, like Breece Hall, who's on IR, is actually still sitting 18th in the rankings. Everyone was sleeping on him. Walker, everyone told you Penny. He's sitting top, like I said, 17. He's going to step into the top 10. Dameon Pierce, nobody talked about until after the breakout game in preseason. So a lot of these guys, doing well. The guys that everybody was sleeping on, doing well. But then the guys that were kind of Consheeps are doing well as well, that were on top of the ranking as well. Now, other guys that fell off here, again, Najee Harris sitting 26, big-time disappointment, that offense. I projected a slight decline in Najee Harris. I was higher on him last year because he was a better value with Big Ben. Did well with him last year. This year, I projected a bit of a decline. Not this bad, though, sitting 26, doing absolutely abysmal, terrible, 3.3 yards per carry, 1 rushing touchdown. Najee Harris, a big bust. He's fallen off. Guys like Zeke Elliott have fallen off. A guy that everyone was talking about, DeAndre Swift, right? 73 fantasy points, big-time bust. And yes, injuries count. Everybody except for myself had him in the top 10. Big-time disappointment. Again, him and Jonathan Taylor not doing it. So those are your top 10 at running back. We talked a little bit about some guys outside of the top 10 that should have been in the top 10. Tons to talk about here going into NFL Week 10. All right, let's move on here to the wide receiver. Here's the thing, man. I'm very impressed with the wide receivers this year, right? I was all about getting value at wide receiver. It typically works every year, but guys that were drafted high are performing really well. Guys like Tyreek Hill, who's number one, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, which I assumed would have a good year yet again. Jefferson, who I thought would have a safe year. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Tyler Lockett, and Christian Kirk, who was a big time. One of my sleepers was Kirk. He's starting to step it back up this lately as well. Now, Jamar Chase obviously banged up. He's going to miss some time, fall out of the top 10. Devontae Adams having that bust game a couple weeks ago, coming back, bouncing back. We see the injuries now to Waller and Renfrow, which means Hollins and Adams could step up. Could this hurt Adams? The big question. I say it could help him in regards to getting more volume, but it could also hurt him because he's going to get more double coverage. In regards to Hollins getting more value, that's a plus. Adams is going to see some double coverage because they don't have Waller and Renfrow to contend with. It's going to be interesting. You may see a spike or a possible decline Davante Adams moving forward. Currently sitting number 6, like I said, in the top 10 here. Other guys that could slide in, Amari Cooper's been consistent as they come. He's sitting number 12 right now. Could slide up the rankings there. T. Higgins, obviously, with the absence of Jamar Chase. We'll see how long that lasts. Chris Olave could step up. CeeDee Lamb. All these guys just outside the top 10 could be emerging. Juju sitting 20th right now, has had a good couple, 3-4 weeks lately. Kind of solidified himself as the wide receiver 1 there in KC. Could be sliding up the rankings as well. So those are your top 10 right now. But again, things are going to change. Injuries are going to happen. Things are going to happen later on. But I just wanted to address and, praise the top 10 right now. Again, Christian Kirk, a bit of a surprise in there. Not so much for me, but for the mainstream. This guy was paid high with Trevor Lawrence, a top, draft pick, the first overall draft pick. They're going to use Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, the skill set is there, and then they pay a lot for Christian Kirk. We were projecting some volume for him, and he's been doing well. So Christian Kirk stepping it up here in the top 10. But other than that, it looks good. Waddle and Hill, I mean, I can imagine one of those guys dropping down by the end of the season outside the top 10. Just from volume perspective, maybe defenses key in. Tua, we'll see how he does and continues the reign there, okay? Tight end here, top 10 tight ends. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Taysom Hill. He's had some big games, not very consistent. Tyler Conklin, again, very volatile. Hayden Hurst, David Njoku, and Gerald Everett, the top 10. Everett had some bad games lately. Robert Tonyan was a guy everyone was sleeping on. He's sitting at 11. Kyle Pitts sitting 16th. He's, again, very high draft capital, hasn't been performing to where he should be. And George Kittle sitting 14th, should be performing a lot higher than he is. Big surprise here. Again, Tyler Conklin, a little bit of a surprise here. Again, had some boom-type games. He's doing good. He's had some good games. Mark Andrews has been out a lot. He's had some injuries, been banged up, so his points should be a little higher, but he's still sitting number 2 as of right now at tight ends. Zach Ertz has been safe, and Hawkinson with the team change. We'll see how that affects them, all right? But that's it, guys. Those are your top 10 at tight end. Again, going through all these top 10s, overall, not any huge surprises. I'd say drop a comment below on what you think is the biggest surprise. I think Geno Smith at 8 at the quarterback position is a big surprise. To the Concheapsis, you could say the Saquon Barkley is a surprise at the running back position. Wide receiver, Christian Kirk. Again, I suggested him as a sleeper there at the wide receiver position. And at tight end, Tyler Conklin at number 7. Big time surprise. So those are your top 10 guys. NFL Week 10 is here. Drop your starts and sits questions if you have them going into NFL Week 10. I'll get to them. Just like to, it's always good to kind of keep track, keep score, and see how everybody's doing. Keep you guys on top of it, all right? If you're new to the channel, subscribe, thumbs up, and head on over to prizepicks.com. DFS line, go try out the platform, guys. Subscribe, thumbs up. We'll talk soon. I'm out.